Dr. Elaine Carter awoke in darkness, her wrists restrained by magnetic cuffs that hummed faintly with energy. The last thing she remembered was the council tribunal chamber. The accusations, the fear, and the moment the sphere of light had spoken through her. Now she was alone. The air in her cell aboard the Seraphis tasted metallic, recycled too many times. She sat up slowly and the cuffs flared blue, warning her not to move further. In front of her, a transparent barrier shimmered, a containment field designed to withstand plasma bursts and psionic attacks. She wasn't sure which of those the council expected from her. "Computer," she croaked. "Where am I?" The AI's neutral voice responded, "Detention Deck 7, Research Vessel Seraphis. Containment status, maximum security. Visitors, 1 authorized. Counselor Veilcor." Elaine's chest loosened slightly. "Let him in." Moments later the air shimmered and Veilcor appeared behind the barrier, his silver eyes dim with sorrow. "You look well," he said quietly. "For a prisoner of legend." Elaine tried to smile but couldn't. "They still think I'm a threat." "They don't think," he replied. "They fear." He leaned closer to the barrier. "Since your connection with the Monolith, entire sectors have awakened. Dormant ruins, dead worlds, all emitting signals. Some in that same lost language." Elaine blinked. "They're responding to me?" "To the voice you carry," Veilcor corrected. "Whatever it is, it remembers you." The rebellion within across the Seraphis, murmurs spread among the crew. Some believed Elaine was the herald of a new age, the reincarnation of the ancient singers who once commanded creation itself. Others whispered darker things, that she carried a virus from the Precursors, designed to destroy. To prevent panic, the council decided to transport her to the Deep Archive, a facility buried within the core of a dead moon, where knowledge too dangerous to exist was sealed forever. But not everyone agreed with that decision. Veilcor entered the council chamber during a recess, his tone icy. "If you bury her, you bury our chance to understand the first ones." The High Counselor's holographic projection flared red. "Understanding is irrelevant if it endangers the Concord." "She carries knowledge older than your empires," Veilcor shot back. "Older than your species. And you fear it because it does not bow to your authority." The chamber fell silent. The counselor's eyes narrowed. "Careful, Argon. You walk close to treason." "I walk where truth demands," he replied, turning and walking out. That night, Veilcor made his decision. The escape. The lights in the detention deck flickered once, a power fluctuation that lasted less than a second. To most aboard the Seraphis, it was a meaningless blip. To Elaine, it was a signal. Her cuffs disengaged with a whisper. The barrier dissolved. The sphere of light, which had been hovering near the ceiling like a distant moon, descended toward her. Its glow pulsed softly, rhythmic, reassuring. "Veilcor," she whispered. The ship's intercom crackled. "Follow the light." She did. The corridors were empty, eerily so. As she moved, doors opened before her, systems deactivated silently. The sphere guided her through the labyrinthine vessel toward a maintenance hangar. Veilcor waited there beside a small transport shuttle, his cloak drawn tight. "They'll hunt you for this," she said. He smiled faintly. "They already do." The hangar doors opened into the endless dark. Alarms blared as the shuttle launched, streaking into the void. Behind them, the Seraphis shimmered and exploded into chaos. Fighters scrambled. Energy signatures flared. The Council's flagship was burning from within. "What did you do?" Elaine gasped. "I gave them a distraction," Veilcor said simply. The voice helped. The sphere pulsed once in silent agreement. The world of echoes. They fled to a hidden system beyond the Concord's maps, a world long abandoned, orbiting a dying star. Ancient towers jutted from frozen oceans, and the sky was filled with broken satellites and drifting debris. "This was once called Eloran Prime," Veilcor explained as they landed. A cradle world of the Argent before the silence. Elaine looked around the ruined city. The architecture was alien yet eerily familiar, arches, spirals, and harmonic shapes that reminded her of the monolith on N-134. "Why bring me here?" she asked. "Because the last time my ancestors heard the voice," he said softly, "it was here." They entered the central tower, a vast cathedral-like structure filled with dead consoles and dust. As they stepped inside, The sphere drifted to the center of the chamber and began to hum. The lights of the ancient machines flickered to life one by one. Holograms bloomed around them, translucent figures of light and energy, speaking in the same harmonic tones she'd heard before. Their voices blended into a chorus that made the air itself vibrate. Elaine felt the words in her bones. The echo returns to the source. The song shall rise again. The awakening of the voice. The sphere rose higher, splitting into countless motes of light that spread across the chamber, weaving into a lattice of symbols. Velcor fell to one knee, his voice shaking. The chorus of the first ones. This is beyond belief. Elaine stepped forward, the lights spiraling around her like fireflies. They're trying to communicate. The air shimmered, forming a humanoid silhouette. Tall, radiant, its body made of starlight. When it spoke, the sound was both word and melody. Child of flesh, heir of the echo. Do you remember us? Elaine's throat tightened. I'm trying to. You carry our memory, the being said. The seed of the song. But the galaxy has forgotten harmony. It is bound in fear and silence. Velcor looked up. Who are you? We were once as you are. We became what we dreamed. But when we reached the heart of creation, we fell into stillness. The voice was lost, until she sang again. The figure turned to Elaine. You must teach them to hear. Elaine's heart pounded. How? Through the resonance of truth. Through the memory in your blood. You are the bridge, the union of matter and meaning. The being reached out, and in a blinding flash, touched her forehead. The transformation images exploded behind Elaine's eyes. Galaxies forming. Stars singing into being, civilizations rising and fading in cycles of light. She saw humanity's ancestors, wandering the void as students of the first ones, learning their music of existence. And then, a betrayal. A faction of the first ones who sought to own the song, twisting it into weapons of control. The war that followed shattered the stars themselves. The victors sealed their memories, erasing all record, leaving only fragments buried in the DNA of a single emergent species. Humans. When the vision ended, Elaine was on her knees, trembling. Her veins glowed faintly with golden light. Velcor knelt beside her, awed. You saw it, didn't you? She nodded weakly. We were their students, their children. They hid their knowledge in us. The return of the Concord. Their revelation didn't stay secret for long. The conquered fleet arrived in orbit 3 days later, massive dreadnoughts blotting out the dying sun. The Council's voice echoed through the planet-wide comms. Dr. Elaine Carter and Velcor of Argon, surrender immediately. By decree of the conquered, all contact with forbidden technologies is punishable by termination. Elaine looked to Velcor. They won't let us explain. No, he said, drawing his weapon. They've chosen silence. The sphere hovered between them, its glow intensifying. Elaine felt its voice inside her mind. The song cannot be silenced. The voice must be heard. She placed her hand on the sphere, and the air around her rippled. The harmonic storm. The sky shattered into light. A wave of resonance erupted from Eleron Prime, rippling through space like a symphony. The Concorde's ships froze mid-maneuver as their systems overloaded. Pilots screamed as their weapons powered down. Navigation arrays dissolving into static. On the planet's surface, the ancient towers awoke, projecting beams of golden light that converged above Elaine. Velcor staggered back. Elaine, what are you doing? She looked up, eyes glowing. Not me, us. The sphere merged with her chest, becoming a part of her. The harmonic energy flowed outward, and for the first time in eons, the voice of the first one sang through mortal flesh. The sound was not sound, it was feeling, memory, truth. Across every ship, every mind, every sentient being within light years, they heard it. Some wept. Some screamed. Some simply fell silent, overwhelmed by beauty. The aftermath. When the light faded, the Concorde fleet drifted powerless in orbit. The soldiers, shaken and confused, found themselves unable to remember why they were fighting. On the surface, Elaine collapsed, her skin pale but still glowing faintly. Velcor rushed to her side. What did you do? He whispered. She smiled weakly. I reminded them. Of what? That we were never meant to conquer the stars, she said. We were meant to sing with them. The new age in the weeks that followed. The shockwaves of that event spread across the galaxy. Ruins long thought dead began transmitting ancient melodies, the same harmonic frequencies Elaine had awakened. Species that had never spoken before found common understanding through resonance. Wars ceased, at least temporarily, as entire fleets listened to the echoes of the first song. The council fell. The conquered fractured, not through rebellion, but revelation. A new alliance formed, the Choir of Worlds, dedicated to relearning the forgotten harmony of creation, and at its center, hidden from the public eye, was Elaine Carter, the flesh-voiced, the echo of the first ones. Ending of Part 2. The song rekindled, Elaine stood once more atop the ruins of Eloran Prime, the dying sun painting the horizon crimson. Valcor approached quietly. The end. The first transmission came in the middle of the night. Dr. Elaine Carter had been half asleep at her desk, the hum of the orbital lab's systems lulling her into that hazy state between dream and wakefulness. Then the alert klaxon blared, a coded burst from one of the deep space relay probes orbiting N-134, a barren, supposedly lifeless world in the Perseus arm. She rubbed her eyes, muttering, "What now?" and brought up the feed. A stream of structured tones pulsed across her monitor, rhythmic, deliberate. "Not random static. Computer," she said, voice cracking. "Run linguistic analysis," the AI's cool voice replied. "Pattern recognition engaged. Probability of artificial origin, 99.7%. Translation indeterminate." Her fatigue evaporated. Indeterminate. "Correct. No correlation found with any known galactic or pre-contact language database." She frowned. The Galactic Concord's archives spanned tens of thousands of civilizations. For something to not match anything was practically impossible. "Send the data to Linguistics Division," she ordered. But before the message could transmit, another tone sequence arrived, longer, more complex. Then a third, accompanied by a low, harmonic resonance that vibrated through the station's bulkheads like a living hum. Elaine's pulse quickened. It wasn't just sound anymore, it was something else. Something she could feel, and for one fleeting moment, a phrase surfaced in her mind. Words she didn't recognize yet somehow understood. "We remember the voice that birthed the stars." The discovery, 2 days later. The Council of Science convened aboard the orbiting fortress Athena Prime. Representatives of dozens of species filled the holographic chamber, each murmuring in disbelief as Elaine's recordings played back. The tones reverberated through the hall, echoing like a hymn sung by a forgotten choir. "This isn't natural," said Professor Zalrin of the Jari. His bioluminescent crest dimmed uneasily. "No current civilization uses harmonic layering this deep. It's ancient," an insectoid scholar clicked her mandibles. "We believe it predates the formation era, before the rise of the Galactic Concord." That sparked immediate outrage. Dozens of voices protested. No one predated the formation era. That was the dawn of civilization itself. Only Elaine remained quiet, staring at the waveform projection. Something about it tugged at her memory, like a half-remembered song from childhood. Finally, the High Counselor turned toward her. "Dr. Carter, you are the transmission's discoverer. What do you believe this to be?" She hesitated. "It's a message from someone, or something, that remembers before history began. And I think it's calling to us, the expedition within a week." The Erebus was dispatched, a multi-species expedition vessel with a human lead, Dr. Elaine Carter, and a xenolinguist from the Argon species named Valcor. Valcor was tall and pale, with eyes like molten silver and a voice that seemed to carry the weight of centuries. His people were one of the oldest known members of the Conquered, keepers of ancient star records and mythic memory. From the beginning, he regarded Elaine with cautious curiosity. "You humans," he said during their descent toward N-134, "still think yourselves new to the stars. Yet it was your species that heard this message first. Perhaps not coincidence." Elaine smiled faintly. "Maybe we just had the right equipment." Valcor's mandibles flexed in what she assumed was amusement. "Equipment can only detect understanding that requires something else." The dead world N-134 was lifeless. Their shuttle touched down on a plain of black stone under a bruised purple sky. No vegetation, no signs of water, only shattered ruins that stretched to the horizon like the bones of titans. Massive obelisks, half buried in volcanic ash, jutted from the ground. Carvings covered their surfaces, etched in spirals and radial patterns. When the team scanned them, the readings came back. Empty, no known materials. No measurable age. As they moved deeper into the ruins, Elaine felt that same hum again. Faint, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat beneath her feet. "Bellicor, do you hear that?" she asked. The alien tilted his head. "Yes, the resonance lies beneath us. Something sleeps below." They followed the sound until they reached what looked like a temple, a massive structure carved directly into a mountain. The doorway alone was 30 meters high, and across its arch was a symbol, a spiral of interlocking circles. When the lights from their suits illuminated it, the stone pulsed softly. Like breathing, Elaine approached, heart pounding. Without realizing it, she raised a hand and traced the spiral's outline. The moment her fingers brushed the surface, the hum became a voice, a whisper in her mind. "You have returned." The door split open. The awakening inside, the air shimmered with particles of light. A single chamber stretched out before them, circular, domed, with a dais at its center. On the dais stood a crystalline monolith that glowed with the same harmonic frequency as the transmission. Bellicor approached cautiously. "By the conquered, this is a memory core, but its design, impossible. This technology should not exist." Elaine ignored him. She could feel the monolith calling to her. Her hand trembled as she stepped forward. The light intensified, and a burst of symbols appeared in the air, luminous runes that shifted and reformed. Her translator implant chirped uselessly. "Unknown syntax," it repeated, but somehow she understood them. Without thinking, she began to read aloud. The words flowed like music. "We were the first to speak, the first to dream. We sang the stars awake and gave them names. Then the silence came, and we forgot the voice." Bellicor froze. "What language are you speaking?" Elaine blinked. "I don't know, I just understand it." The alien's eyes widened, and for the first time, true fear crept into his voice. That language was spoken by the Precursors, the ones who built the first gateways, who vanished 10 million years before my kind were born. "No living species can understand their tongue." Elaine swallowed hard. "Then how can I?" Bellicor stared at her for a long, trembling moment. "Because human... Perhaps your kind were not as new to the stars as we believed." The revelation. They spent the next days studying the monolith. Each time Elaine approached it, the symbols shifted, revealing new verses, new histories, tales of a civilization that had once spanned galaxies, ruled not by conquest, but by harmony. They called themselves the Voices of Creation, and among their teachings was a prophecy. When the silence breaks, the voice shall return in flesh unknowing, bearing memory in the blood. Bellicor began to treat Elaine differently after that. Less as a colleague, more as something sacred and frightening. "You should not read more," he warned. The last human who touched an ancient core during the Aldrin dig vanished. Their atoms unraveled into light. Elaine ignored him. Every time she spoke the words aloud, more meaning unfurled. Deeper than translation, closer to instinct. It was as if the language had always been sleeping within her, waiting to be remembered. Then one night, as she sat before the monolith alone, it spoke back. Elaine Carter. "You carry the echo." Her breath hitched. "What are you?" "We are what remains. You are what returns." The chamber flared with light, and suddenly she was there, standing in a vast city of crystal towers beneath twin suns, beings of radiant energy moving through the air like living light. Voices harmonized in unison, a choir of meaning that transcended sound. Then darkness swallowed it all, and she was back in the chamber, gasping. Bellicor rushed in. "What happened?" "I saw them," she whispered. "The ones who built this place. They weren't gone. They became something else." The alien stared at her, voice trembling. "You saw the Precursors?" "No one has ever..." She cut him off. "They said humans carry their echo." The intervention word spread quickly through the conquered fleet orbiting N-134. A human who could speak the lost language of the ancestors. It shook the political foundations of the galaxy. Within days, a delegation of conquered representatives arrived, scientists, priests, and military observers. Some came to learn. Others came to silence. The High Council ordered the site sealed. No individual species shall claim the knowledge of the first ones, the decree read. All findings belong to the Concord, Elaine protested, but she was overruled. Guards were posted around the Monolith. That night, Velcor found her standing alone outside the camp. They fear you, he said quietly. If the ancestors chose your kind, it would mean humanity holds the oldest claim to the stars. The others would never accept that, Elaine laughed bitterly. We barely learned to walk on alien soil a century ago. Now they think we're gods. Not gods, Velcor said, but perhaps their children. The storm. The next morning, the Monolith began to pulse erratically. Energy readings spiked beyond measurable levels. The ground trembled. Elaine sprinted toward the temple, ignoring the shouted warnings. It's reacting, she cried. Something's waking up. She reached the dais just as the Monolith split open, releasing a column of golden light that spiraled upward like a storm. Within it, shapes began to form. Not quite physical, not quite energy. The voices returned, layered upon each other. The voice has remembered. The silence ends. Velcor shielded his eyes. Elaine, stop and it will kill you. But she stepped forward, compelled. No, it's not trying to harm us. Her vision filled with galaxies. Memories flooding through her mind. Blueprints of star forges, songs that bent gravity. Knowledge of how consciousness itself could shape reality. She screamed as the torrent of information poured through her. Then, silence. When she opened her eyes, the Monolith had vanished. In its